Hi, my name is Jana Bozeman. I am a Denver, Colorado-based yoga teacher. Today I'm going to be leading you through an adaptive yoga sequence with an emphasis of working on the floor. So who is adaptive yoga for? So adaptive yoga would be ideal for anybody who is experiencing something in their body that would preclude them from going to what we deem to be a more traditional studio class. So that could look like a lot of things. Perhaps you just have lost mobility in your body and balance as you have aged. Perhaps you have chronic pain, rheumatoid arthritis. I've worked with individuals that have MS, paraplegia, stroke. Um, the list goes on and on. So it could be any variety of things, but we practice with a lot of props. The poses in their classic sense take on a different form. So it's this very beautiful, creative kind of exploration of your body. And that's what we're going to do today. So I'm going to go over props with you that are useful to have. If you don't have those today, or if you don't have the means to acquire those, there are a lot of things that you can use at home that you have already as makeshift props. So I'll cover all of that as well. So let's talk propage. As you can see, I have everything but the kitchen sink with me right now. So really great prop to have are yoga blocks. These are foam blocks. These are 6 inches, I believe. And as you can see, you can get different heights here. So they're really useful. They're beautiful at bringing the floor closer to you, which is nice if you tend to be a little tighter. They also have a lot of other utility. You can get these at Ross, Target, Walmart. They're everywhere. They're online. They come in the foam version, the wood version. It's kind of just a matter of personal preference. If you don't have blocks, if you have some bigger books that are nice and firm, or you can kind of stack them up, that would be a prop, a substitute prop that would work well. Right, so a yoga strap is a really great thing to have. So these straps come in all colors and sizes. Again, you can get them at Target, stores like that. You can order them online. I actually recommend that. You can usually get longer ones online. So you're looking for a strap that comes with a D-ring so you can hook yourself in. And I would say go for an 8 or 10 foot strap, especially if you're taller. Err on the side of more. If you don't have a strap, you could use a tie. You might have to tie a couple of them together. You could use a couple of scarves tied together, a towel, a long towel. It's just kind of something where you can get a little length, hook it around things, so you can play around with what you have at home in regards to that. Yoga blankets. So the yoga blankets that you can get in a studio or online, they have this nice tight weave, so they're pretty firm, and then they're wonderful. You can do all kinds of things with these blankets depending upon the configuration of your fold. These typically are a little easier to get online, and I will be putting links to all of these in the notes below the video. If you don't have yoga blankets, you can use something that you have at home. So a big fluffy comforter is not going to work so good, but if you have something that's a little thinner and as you fold it up, it becomes firm, go in that direction. So just kind of look around, see what you have, and that will work as a substitute for blankets. Bolsters, let's talk bolsters here. So this is a pranayama bolster. It's long and skinny. I actually love using this for different back bends for support underneath my knees. So this can be a nice one to have. And then this is just a rectangular bolster, which gets used a lot and is awesome. This comes in a couple different firmnesses, just regular or extra firm. Probably regular firm is good for most people, unless you know that you're a little more open in your upper body, you have a little more flexibility in your shoulders and your neck, then you could go with the extra firm. All right, so a chair. Chair is really nice to have. Sometimes we practice in the chair. Sometimes we use the chair to help us find poses such as downward facing dog. I got this chair at Costco. I'm not sure if it's available online. I'll actually check that out, but I'll see if I can find another option if they don't have it. This one is nice because it's padded. So that's beautiful when you're sitting. It just gives you a little cushion and support. Sandbags. Sandbags for yoga? Yeah, there's no flooding in yoga, hopefully, but sandbags are an amazing, amazing tool, and we use them to help ground us down. So these sandbags, they have two bags when they arrive. So this outer bag with a strap, but then an inner bag where you put the sand, and you'll have to pick up sand at Home Depot, an outdoors kind of store. I have found that the sand is always a little damp. So if I put it right into the sandbag, you can feel the moisture. So I actually cook my sand before I put it into the sandbag. So I just throw it in the oven. I spread it out on a cookie sheet. You'll probably have to do a couple layers and then cook it at 350 for like an hour or so. You'll be able to tell when it's dried out. Sandbags and cooking sand. How weird can yoga get? Okay, so finally, mats. So I'm just on a couple of regular sticky mats. Again, you can get these at Target. You can order them online. I think this top mat is from Gayam. This is from Manduka. And I've made a T shape since we're going to be taking some different configurations with our legs. It's really nice, especially if you're practicing on a harder surface, to have something underneath you and a little cushion. And actually for many adaptive students, it's nice to have quite a bit more padding. And I don't have a mat like that here with me, but I'll put a link into it. So more like a gymnastics mat. So it's thick, but there's a lot of support. So that can be a really good option. And of course, you might be doing this sequence on your bed, like first thing in the morning when you wake up. So I've kind of made that sequence or made this sequence with that in mind. So we're gonna move into this practice. Before we get going, I do want to just stress to you how important it is to be safe. So especially if you're doing this practice on your own, you know your body better than anybody else. So if you are paraplegic and have no issues getting to the floor by yourself, great. If you know that that's trickier for you and you don't have somebody to assist you, please don't do this practice. You could do it in your chair and modify. So always thinking about safety, really keying into that. That's super important. We want our yoga to serve us and benefit us. We don't want it to hurt us. Okay, so with that being said, let's get moving into our little sequence today. So we're going to start in Sukhasana. It's the pose that I'm in now. So it's a simple cross-legged pose. We're going to cross our right shin in front of our left shin. And I'm going to actually use one of my blankets here to sit up on. So sitting up on a blanket is really nice for most people. So a lot of us tend to be really tied in the hips and the pelvic girdle. So sitting on the floor can cause us to round in a little bit, and we're looking for length. The other thing that happens if you're really tight in your hips, your knees come up higher than the hip bones, and that can get really uncomfortable to sit like that. So we want to get the hips level with the knees. So sitting on your blanket like so, the knees are still up. Maybe you sit up on a bolster. Perhaps there's even a blanket on the bolster. All good options. And then here also, it can be nice sometimes just to slide blocks underneath your thighs to give you a little more support. So a lot of times people think that if you use props, you're cheating in yoga. I think those people are nuts and they don't know what they're missing. So use the tools that you have so that you can find this comfortable seat. And Sukhasana literally translates to that comfortable, easy pose. Okay, so energetically, you're rooting down into your sit bones. That might be a physical sensation for you and your body. That might be more of a thought. They're both good. And I want you to close your eyes here. Take a nice deep inhale through your nose. Open your mouth, sigh the breath out, let it go. Ha. Go ahead and do that a couple more times. So deep inhale through your nose. Full exhale through your mouth. You're letting everything go, that to-do list, something that is stressing you out. This is being recorded in 2020, which has been a nutty year. Let that go. Couple more, just moving at your pace. Inhaling through the nose. Exhaling through the mouth. And then with your eyes closed here, we're going to start to find an inhale through the nose and then also an exhale through the nose. And you might notice there is this subtle, soft, gentle rush of air in the back of your throat. There's this sound. It's like ocean waves rolling in and out. It sounds a little bit like Darth Vader. Key into that sound. Notice if the inhale feels a little easier, if the exhale feels a little easier. Is one longer than the other? So if so, try to even the inhale and the exhale out. You might do that by inhaling to the count of 5 or 6 or 7, and then exhaling to that same number. Observe if any tension has crept into your body. So typically here, the shoulders start to creep up around the ears. That's so natural. Carry a lot of stress and tension in the neck and shoulders. Soften them down. Feel your shoulder blades release down. And your chin might be ever so gently tucked. So not all the way to the chest, just dipping down ever so slightly. So you get that beautiful length in the cervical spine, the neck. You're listening to your breath, and it's interesting. You're going to be distracted by sounds happening in the room around you. Your attention is going to go there. There's a million little things that pull us out of ourselves. You're going to get distracted, especially by the thoughts coming into the brain. It's hard to turn that off. And, I think sometimes the message in yoga becomes, you need to get quiet. It's pretty nearly impossible. So more important to practice moving towards stillness and maybe getting those, few second stretches where there's silence. And then we start to string more of those together. So it is the art of practice that is the key. It is not the art of perfection. Couple more breaths here. Just soaking up this beautiful silence, soaking up the sound of your breath. It is the best soundtrack. And then before we start to work here, I just want to set the intention that you are going to be open, playful, creative. You're going to let go of that internal critic, and we all have it. So that voice that says, oh, I'm doing this wrong. Oh, it doesn't look right. None of that matters. Just as we try to quiet the mind, which is pretty nearly impossible, we move into shapes, and it's going to look different for all of us. Embrace that and be grateful that you are here, moving your body, exploring your body. Good. You're going to blink your eyes open. And we're going to start to move a little bit here. So we're going to come into some cat-cow stretch. So this is just linking movement with breath. Basically, it's back bending and forward folding in this very subtle, gentle way. So hands can be on thighs, knees, shins, wherever feels good. Kind of has to do with anatomically how you're built. As you inhale, you're going to start to rock forward on your sit bones, shoulder heads pressed back. The chest comes forward through the gates of the shoulders. As you exhale, you go the opposite direction. So you're rocking to the back of your sit bones, letting the back of your neck Lengthen your kind of tuck in your chin. Inhale, arch. Exhale, round in. And I want you to continue to move like that with your breath. So you might not be moving with me. You might be at a different pace. I want you to honor that. And I'm going to give you the side view of this as well. And you're going to notice here, as we do this, you're going to start to get just a little more movement in your spine. This feels so yummy. This is a really good posture to do every day. Like maybe when you wake up first thing, sit up in your bed and just rock forward and back like this. So it gets all of the creaks, all of the sleep out of your spine, but it also hooks up movement with breath. So you start to find this rhythm in your body, which is essential as a human being. We're these rhythmic beings. And when we're dealing with different diseases and injuries and disabilities that preclude us from moving as much as we would like, pausing and doing little things like this are real magic for the body and for the mind. Couple more. And if you've lost your breath, you just come back to it. That inhale through your nose, that exhale through your nose. Couple more rounds. And then on your next inhale, go ahead and come back to a neutral spine. So again, you're sitting tall. Feels like shoulders are landing over your sit bones, rooting into your sit bones. That might, again, be more of a thought, just an idea, but it informs how you are here in these poses. So I want you to start to notice that. It's almost like yoga is story. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and recross our legs. So extend to straight. You might wanna give them a little shake out. And then we're gonna take the left shin in front. So crossing it in front. So if you are more flexible, you're gonna be crossing in the center of your shins. Many of us a little tighter, so the knees are gonna come out. Again, use blocks underneath legs if you need to. Beautiful little variation. And then we're gonna start to move a little more, but in a different way. So we're gonna start to rock around in the pelvic girdle, the hips. So again, hands on thighs, knees or shins, whatever feels good. These are called Sufi rolls. You just start to make these circles. They can be big, they can be small. You might get some clicks and cracks. But they're pretty yummy, kind of like the sushi rolls that we eat, but these are our Sufi rolls, Sufi with an F, like the Sufi mystic poets. You can dip your shoulders in. You might get to a spot where you want to linger. So you're feeling a good stretch, so you can just hang out there and listen to your body. That is so important. I think if we can just slow down and breathe and tune into our body, I think that's the real yoga. The poses are like icing on the cake. They're really nice. But it is this breath and attention to headspace, to body space, that is really the beautiful part of yoga. I don't know if I said switch directions. I think that I did. If I didn't, switch directions. Just channeling your inner belly dancer here. Good, and then come back to center. We're gonna do another little flow, just lateral stretch. So blocks are really nice. They're going to go off to the sides. All right, so we're going to start rooting down into that right palm. So block can be great. You might need to go higher. You might have longer arms. You might be a little more flexible so you can press down into the floor. They're all good options. Then you're going to release this left hand by your side as you inhale. Take that arm up and over. Exhale. Release down. Left palm presses into the floor of the block. Inhale, right arm comes up and over. We're going to just move like that. Exhale. Press. Top arm up and over. Inhale or exhale, root down. Inhaling, top arm stretches. Exhale, release. Inhale up and let this feel really beautiful, really graceful and spacious in your body. And it doesn't have to look like what I'm doing. So if there's something, for some of us, sometimes it can be hard to reach our arms up like this. So you could simply be going side to side, just moving with the breath, and you're still getting a nice stretch as you do that. So get curious, get creative. One of the reasons I love adaptive yoga is that it is so creative. And working with individuals who have all different kinds of things going on is really fascinating and challenging. And I feel like my students have taught me more than I've learned in any training. So I thank you all for that. Okay, so we're going to come into a hold here. So you're going to reach down into that right palm. We're a little warm now. You might be able to walk that hand out a little further. Top arm reaches up and over. A few of us might come down to forearm. So these are all just different stages. So just because I say you might do it doesn't mean that you have to do it. And then again, maybe it's really challenging to have your arm up like this. So you could just release it by the side, still getting a really nice stretch here. If you do have that arm extended, I want you to find internal rotation. So that means that you are spinning your palm or the eye of the elbow behind you. As you do this, this left sit bone is going to want to pop up. So if you have a buddy there with you or a spouse, girlfriend, boyfriend, whoever, maybe they would kindly press down into that left thigh, just giving you a little anchoring. Or you could put your sandbag on your leg there. If you don't have sandbags, small children, cats, dogs, small dogs, they can work. A bag of beans, a bag of rice. Perhaps here you start to gaze up underneath that top arm, and that can put a lot of stretch in the neck. So you're really mindful. So gaze is this very important thing in yoga. So we want to keep it soft and gentle. When we start looking around, we get distracted by things, and then we start thinking about things. So gaze is soft. It's moving towards blurry. But then you're paying attention to your neck. So as you look at different places, how does that feel? Good. Let's exhale here. Coming to our second side. So make any adjustments that you need. Anchor down into that right sit bone. Spin that right palm, that elbow to face behind you. Start to twist these left ribs up towards the ceiling any amount. And then playing with your gaze. Are you breathing? Inhaling through your nose. Exhaling through your nose. If you need to release that arm down, absolutely okay. So you need not be doing exactly what I'm doing. This is an exploration of your body. We're all working with different things. Okay, deep inhale. As you exhale, you release. And then let's just take a moment here to check in. So close your eyes. Notice how you're feeling. Might feel like you're sitting a little taller. We've been moving, so the breath may have sped up. You might be feeling a little heat in your body. These are all really beautiful things. Okay, so we are gonna move on here to Dandasana, seated staff pose. So we're gonna extend our legs to straight. You might wanna give them a little shake out here. And for this pose, we're gonna use a blanket as a prop, and then also a strap, and then probably blocks. So if you have one of these yoga blankets, we are gonna come into the quarter fold. So this would be the half fold when you've just folded it in half. And then this is the quarter fold. We're gonna roll this up. I'm gonna make a little yoga blanket burrito. I'm always fairly careful rolling blankets up. With your props, you want to be like the princess and the pea. You want to be picky. So if there's like lots of lumps, if it's kind of sloppy, sometimes that can be a little distracting to some of us who have OCD apparently. Okay, so we're going to slide this roll up between our thighs. And then you can start to squeeze your legs into the blanket, but we're also going to use our strap to give us a little more support as well as feedback. So I'm going to take this strap above the upper leg today. So it's going to strap kind of in the center between the knee and the hip. As you come into this variation here, if that doesn't feel good in your body, you could always take the strap around your shins. If you have two straps, you could do a strap around your shins and a strap around your thighs. Again, this is your playground. You are exploring. This is also your science lab. You're paying attention to the sensations that you're getting in your body. And so do give this strap a little tension. So for those of us where the legs just naturally turn out, this just helps us to find a little more internal rotation. It doesn't have to be perfect. If you do have a friend there with you, you might have them sit like you are, facing towards you, and press their feet into your feet. And then also, it's really hard to sit like this. It requires a lot of core. It helps to build our core strength. So you might be sitting back against a wall if you're doing this practice in your bed, back against the headboard. Your friend could come behind you. So their hip would be facing towards your spine. So they're using their leg as a wall. So they can kind of press into you and you can press back. That's a beautiful variation. I'm going to have to shoot a class with another person so I can show you some of those variations. Okay, so we're going to be here. Oh, one more thing. So if your feet do naturally turn out, it's fine. This is the pose that will work. But if you do have blocks and sandbags, you can use those as a little prop. So you can kind of use that block to help your feet, and then sandbags by the side so that they don't splay out, tip the blocks over. Okay, so a couple of breaths here, Dandasana. Energetically root down into your sit bones. As you press there, as you feel that rooted feeling, start to find the length through your spine. And we're going to get a little taller here. Inhale, stretch your arms up. Couple of breaths. Imagine that somebody is gently pulling up on your wrist. If you have somebody there, they might actually gently pull up on your wrists. But you can feel that adjustment, the idea of it. You can feel that in your body, even if somebody is not physically doing to you. Okay, so from here, we're gonna start to hinge forward, fold in. And most of us are pretty tight in this. So I'm gonna actually use my blocks. So it's that idea that we had, we wanna keep the sides of our waist nice and long, at least starting out here. So you might not go as deep as if you rounded in, but take a few breaths here. If you are more flexible, blocks might be further ahead. You might have hands resting on the mat. You might even bring your hands to your feet. So these are all good variations. And this is an intense stretch, great stretch for the back of the body, especially feel it in your hamstrings, in the back, lower back. And it's actually nice to do this pose with this blanket between our legs. So the more classic variation of this pose is legs together, taking the legs apart, even a little bend in the knees, makes it more accessible. So I do want you to start to round in here. And actually, this introduces a lot of sensation into the body, especially the neck. So we all carry the weight of the world on our shoulders. There is so much tension in the neck, the shoulder area. The muscles in the neck work very hard and they're small relative to what they're holding up. So the skull, the brain. So you really have to breathe into the sensations here and use your breath to help you let go of the neck. Imagine that there's a weight on your forehead gently pulling you towards the earth. I always love coming into these forward folds. I can hear my breath better. And I think part of it just has to do with like the acoustics of being in a little tighter. So soak that up. And then from here, we're going to start to roll up. Ah, hello. Might get a little head rush coming out. And then we're going to move in to another pose. So it seems like effort, all of these props. It is so worth it. So take your time, pause the video if you need to, once you see what the setup is, so you can get all arranged. So we're gonna move this roll up to the side. We're gonna use this for our Shavasana today. And I'm gonna scoot back here because we're gonna be taking our legs wide, and I want to make sure that my heels are resting on mat. So particularly if you are practicing on a hardwood floor, you want something underneath. Okay, and again, we're sitting tall here. We're rooting into our sit bones. That's standard in all of our poses. The configuration of our legs is a little different. So for many of us, this becomes more challenging. So if you're starting to round in, sit a little higher. A bolster might be a really nice way to go. And then again, another really great variation. If you have a friend there with you, they take the same shape, they're facing you, they press their feet into your feet, and then that's going to give you a little more feedback boundary. It's going to liven up the legs a little bit. Not necessary. So wherever you're at, that's where you need to be. You could take sandbags to the outer edge of the foot. Mostly you're being kind to yourself. So some of our bodies don't move in certain ways. That's okay. Be good with where you're at. Just honor that. And then we are going to start to take a forward fold here. So this really gets into the groin. This is like such a hard pose in my body. So blocks are really nice. As you exhale and start to hinge forward at your waist, you can bring your hands to the blocks. And this again allows you to keep that length so we don't round in. Kind of, even though this is a forward fold, we're thinking a little back bend in the upper body, a little lift of the heart up towards the ceiling. Breathing, inhaling and exhaling. Coming back to that sound of your breath. So Upavista Konasana, wide angle pose. It's a doozy. So thoughts might be kicking around like, get me out of this. That's normal. So maybe you need to back out a little bit. I'm a fan of less is more. It's this fine line between challenging ourselves and pushing ourselves, but then crossing that line and hurting ourselves. We're always kind of striving towards perfection. And I think that that's very much this American ideal, and it is an ideal. Better to be curious, be smart, pay attention to what you need. Doesn't matter what the poses look like. We're going to start to find a little twist here. So if you got your blocks, you can start to walk them off to the right. And then you're wrapping these left ribs towards that right thigh, any amount. There's a little bit of a twist in this pose. And then notice how this left sit bone is popping up. So you could take a sandbag there. You could have a sandbag on both thighs. And as you're here, as you're being creative and paying attention to your body, if something pops into your head, a little inspiration with one of these props, try it out. This is one of the funnest things about yoga. It's great to do classes with teachers and to get feedback, but it's also really fun to just play on your own. Make it up as you go. And you're just listening to that breath, that inhale through the nose, that exhale through the nose. You're paying attention to the sensations in your body. And then we start to walk off to the left. It's all right if it takes a moment to get there. Oh, this side might feel different. You're trying to wrap those right ribs towards that left thigh any amount. It could just be a thought. You might just be seeing it in your mind's eye. Okay, let's come back to center. Oh. And then slowly walk in. And we are going to come into a triangle pose. We're going to do that lateral stretch in this configuration of our legs. And then we're going to take it into a triangle pose. So blocks are going to come by your side, and you can play around with height. If you don't need the blocks, that's absolutely fine. So let's energetically root down. So we remind ourselves to find that. So that rooted feeling, that anchored feeling helps us to stretch out, to grow, to expand out. So root that right palm down into the blocks. We've been here before. Put your brain in that left sit bone, anchor there. And then inhale, stretch this right arm up and over. And then I want you to walk this right block out as far as you need to so that this elbow starts to come to straight. And it might not come all the way straight. There might be a little micro bend, particularly if you tend to be hyper flexible in your joints. I want a little bend in that arm just to protect that joint. So we find this beautiful lateral stretch. And again, if it's challenging to have the arm extended, hand on hip works. I'm still feeling it. I'm getting all of the things. And you're breathing. And we're going to turn this into triangle pose, Trikonasana. In my humble opinion, the most beautiful yoga pose in all the world. So you start to lift that left arm up. So your shoulder blades are stacking on top of each other. And you can kind of approximate that guess. It doesn't have to be perfect. And then we're going to start to play with our gaze. So maybe you begin to look up towards that left thumb. You're being mindful about the sensations that are happening in your neck. If this is too much, you bring your gaze to a different place. You might even be looking over the right shoulder. Perhaps that feels better. Breathing. And then if it feels safe to do so, I want you to close your eyes here. If that challenges your balance, you keep them open, soft gaze. But I want you to inhale, fill up. And then exhale, stretch out in all directions. You're a little starfish in the ocean, taking up space. And this is why I love this pose. So we spend so much time contained. We're in a chair or at the computer or getting big or getting large, and it feels absolutely delicious. Good. So as you exhale, look down at your right palm. Inhale, rise on up, and then we're going to do that to the second side. So left hand plants, right arm up and over. So we did this already with our legs crossed at the beginning of class. And then we're going to walk that left block out as far as we need to bring that arm to straighter. Hand might just be on your hip. That's the pose. You are spinning these left ribs up towards the ceiling so that there's this twist in our triangle pose. And then we're going to start to inhale, bring that right arm off to the side. So it's like I have wings, but they're tipped at an angle. Play with your gaze. And bring it inward. Notice how this side feels different than the other side. Maybe you're looking up at that right thumb, and you're definitely going to feel a stretch through that right side of your neck. That's okay. But if it's too much, you bring your gaze somewhere else. And then go ahead and close your eyes. How big can you get? Stretch out. Blink eyes open. As you exhale, look down at that left palm. Oh, inhale, come on up. Release your arms down. A sigh of relief. That was a nice long hold. So yoga does build a lot of strength, and you don't need to be doing weights. There's nothing wrong with that. I encourage that if that's something that you like. But holding the arms, engaging the muscles, hard work. So if you're feeling a little fatigued, pat yourself on the back for giving it your all. You've earned a lovely, restful Shavasana. So if you do practice yoga regularly and you have a variation of Shavasana that you want to come into, you're welcome to go there. That might be laying back on a bolster. It might be classic Shavasana laying on the mat. But I would like to show you this variation today. And you're going to want to use your hands to help bring your legs in. So we're going to use this roll up again. And you can just, from where you're at, put it behind you if that's easier. I'm going to come to the side. I think it'll be easier for you to see what's going on. So I'm going to bring this bolster to the small of my back. Probably you're going to want a blanket for your head here. So that's just gonna make a little T shape. And then I also think it's really nice to have something underneath the knees here, just to help the lower back release out. So I'm gonna use my pranayama bolster. If you have another blanket, you could roll that up, that would work. You could put blocks underneath your knees. All right, so nice and easy, nice and gentle. I'm going to start to melt back, and I can tell I need that to go back a little further. I have a very long torso. So make any little adjustments that you need to here. You want this to feel really comfortable and lovely. And one of the things that I like about having this rolled up blanket underneath is that it allows your shoulder heads to start to release. So this is a nice little back bend. Your chin is tucking ever so slightly. So mostly we just want the back of the neck to be nice and long. Close your eyes here. Take a deep inhale. Open your mouth, sigh the breath out, ha. And then we're gonna melt into a peaceful, restful Shavasana. So you can let go of any effort to your breathing. You're just allowing it to find its own natural rhythm, and you're letting your muscles melt off the bones. The bones are getting really heavy. I heard a teacher recently describe this as pancake batter on a Sunday morning, and you can visualize that, how you pour it into the hot pan and it just melts out. So we're going to be here for a few minutes. If you have time to be here a little longer, you can just pause the video. But I will pull you out of this Shavasana otherwise. So in your Shavasana, let your next inhale be deeper. Open your mouth, sigh the breath out, let it go, ha. Start to bring your awareness back to your body. And start to bring a little gentle movement back to your body. So wiggling, stretching. And then you're going to place your palms in a pile on top of your heart. And you're sending yourself love and gratitude. You're especially sending your body love and gratitude. So it is such a joy. It's such a gift to be able to work and move like this. It isn't easy, but it does make a difference. And finally, I just want you to check in and notice how you're feeling differently here than when we started. So hopefully there's a greater sense of ease in your body. There is this sense of strength and also this sense of flexibility. And it might just be subtle. That's absolutely fine. I want you to notice how your breath has shifted. So it's a little steadier, a little deeper, a little richer. And as a combination of body and breath working together, there's been hopefully a significant headspace shift. So you're feeling a little quieter, a little calmer, more focused. You're probably feeling a nice little dopamine hit. So all those feel good endorphins have released. So you feel some joy. I want you to promise yourself that you're going to carry that with you into the rest of your day ahead. Thank you so much for practicing with me today. I do teach a weekly class via Zoom on Mondays from 1:30 to 2:30 Mountain Time. So that's Denver time. Information below the video. You are welcome to join. We'd love to have you. And I am working on getting more content like this up onto YouTube. So if you have any questions at all, leave a comment or shoot me an email. If you have ideas of things that you would like to see, please send that my way as well. Thank you.